Hello, welcome, greetings. Thank you all for joining us today. First of all, we want to say thank you. You all do such incredible work, and without the work that you all do, there would be such a just different society. Obviously, we all have more that we want to be able to do, and I hope that something that you'll learn today will be something you can take and apply to make the world a better place. So thank you all for joining us. Before we get started, and before I introduce our guest speaker, I just want to give everybody a heads up. As you log in, you're going to find that you are on mute. We automatically mute just to keep down the distracting noises in the background. And there are, if you want to take a few moments to look at the toolbar, there's a chat box. You can certainly send any questions my way. I'll monitor that throughout the presentation. There's a Q&A box, so if you want to submit a question, that would be great too. The format today is going to be this. We're going to have an introduction. And then we'll have the presentation from Eric. And we'll have a period of time at the end for questions and answers. So get your thinking caps on and write down your pertinent questions. Eric has been extremely kind and generous and brave, I guess, to suggest that if there is a question that's really pertinent, he will take questions on the spot. So send me your question if there's something that he's covering during the presentation, and it can't wait until the Q&A. Please feel free to submit that. If I see it's really important, I will interrupt him, and he will be happy to take the question, and it'll make for a really exciting interview and webinar. So thank you. Okay. First and foremost, thank you again for joining us. This is one of a series of ongoing educational webinars that's being produced in partnership with your friends at All Sports United, who, as you know, are an incredible community for sports philanthropy. And so thank you all. It's great to be part of the All Sports United community as well. My name is Amy DeVita. I'm with Third Sector Today and Top Nonprofits, and we're two websites that also have some information and resources for nonprofits across the board, different segments. So please do check us out when you get an opportunity. And we are working with All Sports United to help really just bring more resources and get it out in a number of different ways to reach people. So that being said, I also would love to say a special shout out, thank you, to E4 Strategies. Without their sponsorship support, this type of offering wouldn't even be available. So thank you very much to E4 Strategies for helping us and partnering with us on this. So first, we are very fortunate today to be talking to Eric Facas. He is the founder of Media Cause, and he is here to talk to us about something really exciting. It's how to use Google Ad Grants, and not only exciting, but probably pretty mysterious. A lot of people don't know about the program, and when people do know about it or know of it, they tend to not know fully how to utilize it. So we're very fortunate to have Eric here. I expect, first of all, Eric is really speaking to us as a branding and SEO, expert. He founded Media Cause, which is a marketing for good agency for nonprofit organizations. And he founded that really because he's impassioned to help use his expertise to really level the marketing playing fields between non and for-profits. So he has his prior career included time at Google, so I think that he's uniquely qualified to explain to us how the Google Ad Grants program works. It's really something that's incredibly valuable. It's available to all of you, and it's, again, really not very well understood or employed, so he's going to demystify it for us today. This will be, he's going to present, we'll have a Q&A, and if you have a question, please do send it my way in the chat or the Q&A box, and I will be able to ask Eric to answer that. So without further ado, Eric, please take the microphone.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amy. It's great to be here and an honor to speak with everyone and share a bit about what I've learned over the last 3.5 years or so working in the nonprofit space, in particular with Google Ad Grants as a program that's near and dear to my heart as a former Google employee. A program that I thought everyone in the world knew about and quickly learned in 2010 when I founded Media Cause that many nonprofits did not. So I'm very excited to share as much as I can today in the hour that we have, but also just want to mention that we'll cover as much ground as we can, but there are likely to be follow-up questions. My contact information is here on the top of the slide, and there's also some Twitter handles for Media Cause down at the bottom. You can follow up with me directly with questions. You can tweet at Media Cause one way or the other. We'll get your questions answered and aim to convert as many of you as possible into Google Ad Grants experts as soon as we can. So with that, we just wanted to start off with a quick question to judge the level of expertise with Google Ad Grants in the room. So of these three options here, I'd love if you entered in the box what best describes your particular experience with Google Ad Grants. I'm not able to see those responses in presentation mode here, so Amy, maybe you can just sort of share with me what we see coming in from the attendee.
Sounds good. I definitely will. So all of you, if you could take a look at the chat box in your toolbar and communicate which of those answers, best describes your level of experience with Google Ad Grants, A, B, or C, and we'll kind of take a little tally and see how that plays out. So please send your answers along. Thanks.
So no right answers. Obviously, it's just a matter of me trying to gauge the expertise here, and I can try to tailor the talk for the next 50 minutes or so based on the experience on the call. So don't feel bad if you don't know what Google Ad Grants is. That's what we're here to talk about. With option B, we found many nonprofits have an account set up, but we really aren't sure if they're making the most of it. That's a good place to be entering this call. And the third one is you're using it really well, you're spending all the money that you actually have Google Analytics installed, you're tracking what people do when they come to your site as it pertains to your largest goals, which we hope include newsletter signups and donations. So all three, I believe, will benefit from today. Just a matter of sort of better gauging the expertise.
Eric, I would just give you a quick little update here. In a 2-to-1, I would say ratio, not surprising. We've got 2-to-1 with A being the most popular answer. The second most popular answer is B. Okay. And that's sort of my answer too, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, any B's out there, or is it all A and B?
I've only seen A's and B's, and it's about 2-to-1. So unless, yeah. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we will. The presentation is made for A's and B's, and by the end of it, we hope that you put a lot of these tips into practice and become a C over the next couple of months. That's certainly what we hope to do. So with that, let's move forward and just talk a little bit about what Google Ad Grants is. It's first and foremost, it's $120,000 per year in free advertising on Google.com, and that's quite a powerful number. It breaks out to $10,000 a month or $330 per day. And the opportunity to serve ads on Google.com and save your nonprofit a lot of money and get exposure for the work that you're doing. The great news is that Google has generously reinstated its Grants Pro program in the last couple of months, which means if you do use the $120,000 that you're given, they will bump your budget up to $40,000 a month or $480,000 per year in free Google Ads. So it can be very, very powerful in reaching new people to engage with on the issues that your nonprofit represents. So the steps for moving forward, and this is really for the A's in the room, and this will be shared later, so you don't have to write down this URL. It's a two-step process to get started with Google Ad Grants. The first is really to apply for the Google for Nonprofit program, which you can do at google.com/nonprofits. The application itself only takes a couple of minutes. There are 10 questions, the most arduous of which are your mission, and you all should have that in your mind and memorized. Other than that, it's logistical things like address and EIN number. So I encourage you to review the eligibility requirements and sign up as soon as you possibly can after this call, of course. And the second step, once you're approved for Google for Nonprofits, is to actually apply for Google Ad Grants within the interface. The first step might take several weeks of waiting for approval, and the second step might take also several weeks of waiting for approval, so all the more reason why you should sign up now, whether you're not sure how you're going to move forward with Google Grants. Encourage you to do it now because there could be up to 2 months of waiting for both of these approval processes. So that is the extent to which we will share information about the sign-up. It's very, very simple and something that all of you should be able to do on your own. If anyone goes through this process and has any questions, feel free to contact me directly at my email or Twitter, and I can help you through this process, but it is relatively easy. So what we're going to cover today, the first section is really about the fundamentals of AdWords and Google Ad Grants, and the mission here is really to help you understand how it works and ultimately help you spend the free money that Google's giving you. It's a missed opportunity to let this money go. The $10,000 each month, if not spent, is essentially taken away. So while it's $120,000 per year, you do have to use it effectively and consistently to unlock all of that budget. So that's what we'll cover in section number 1. The second section is really about creating tangible value. Traffic to a website is good. You know, we're all happy when more people come to our website, but it's really about, you know, what they do when they come to your site. And so we dive into how to unlock the most value possible with Google Ad Grants with a more integrated marketing approach. And then lastly, we'll wrap it up with a case study that really talks about that integrated approach. And this has to do in particular with using Google Ad Grants effectively with a good ongoing email campaign, which ultimately turns into tangible value, which is dollars through donations. So with that, we've got a lot of ground to cover. I will jump straight in. I'll just sort of as a reminder, please do ask questions. If there is a question that seems to be applicable to the group, I've asked Amy to interrupt me, and we can address that there. Otherwise, we'll save those questions for the end. So please type in questions into the chat bar as you have them, or Twitter if you want to reach us directly at MediaCause. So with that, let's start with the very basics, the Google Ads 101. Important to note that there are 3 billion searches per day on Google. This represents a massive amount of people looking for information that you have the opportunity to connect with. You'll see about a quarter of those clicks go to the advertisers, which is where you're able to promote your organization. So a really large opportunity, and one that's worth investing time into figuring out. Google Ads work by advertisers bidding on keywords. It's a keyword-based system, which we'll explain in the next couple of slides in more detail. But important to point out that every search represents a real-time auction. So for all 3 billion of those searches each day, an auction takes place within fractions of a second, and that's what determines whose ads are shown there. So highly complex and fairly difficult to understand and to become an expert in, but the hope is in sharing what we share in the next handful of slides that we can get you up to speed enough to use the system effectively. The advertisers only pay when someone clicks on an ad, so that's an important point to share. You'll hear about this cost per click as a key piece of vocab that you'll need to understand moving forward. So one of the stipulations of the Google Ad Grant program is that you have a $2 max cost per click. You're able to bid up to $2 for someone to click on your ad. Now, the reason why I share this is that the paid advertisers on the platform, the ones that aren't using Google Ad Grants but rather paying to get exposure for their organization, are not limited by a $2 max CPC. So that's the challenge of the nonprofits, is to be effective within those parameters of having a lower cost per click. So that is the high-level overview of Google Ads. And to better understand some of the different elements, we just sort of want to go through a couple of glossary terms here as a primer. We covered keywords. Keywords are what run all of the ads. Every ad is tied to a keyword. Up to 10 ads can be shown for every search query, every keyword that's entered into Google's search engine by a user. Advertisers are able to put ads, and up to 10 of them are shown at a time. What determines what ads are shown is referred to as ad rank. And this is an algorithm that is a combination of your max CPC, what you're willing to bid, which is set by the advertiser, and again has a $2 maximum in the case of Google for nonprofits, times your quality score. And this is where it gets a little tricky and generally referred to as black box. For those that are familiar with the AdWords system, everyone wants to know exactly how they're shown and what their quality score is, and it can be relatively difficult to find out exactly what it is, but we've comprised a number of elements that go into it to help give you a better understanding. And the first, and probably most important because of the control that you have, is your click-through rate percentage. And this is simply how many people see your ad versus how many people click on your ad. This is calculated for every keyword and every ad that you have in your campaign, and Google uses it essentially to determine how popular that ad is going to be. The other elements that are included here are your landing page, both the quality and the relevancy of the landing page, as well as the relevancy of the ad copy itself. And then lastly, the historical performance of that keyword. How has that worked for you over the past month and past year? As well as the real black boxy element of machine learning, which is essentially saying Google will do everything it can to predict how likely you are to click on an ad and engage with the content on the page that you go to. And the more likely that you are to click and engage with the content, the more likely they are to show your ad towards the top. It's what makes Google such an amazing ad platform. Relevancy is supremely important to your success. It's not just a matter of how much you're willing to pay, which is great for the nonprofits who are limited at a $2 max cost per click. It gives you the ability to compete by writing very compelling creative that gets clicked on more. And so we'll spend the next 20 minutes or so digging into all of those details. The last element of primer is really understanding the AdWords account structure. There's a two-pronged taxonomy to all Google Ad Grants and AdWords accounts. You have campaigns, which are essentially tied to different programs and goals, and just represent the top-level structure. Within those campaigns, you have ad groups. You can have up to 50 ad groups per campaign, and this is where the keywords and the ads live. So
Eric,
when you're...
Oh, sorry. I'm jumping in. I have a question I wanted to ask as we're going through here. Going back to the click-through rate, I'm sorry, we received a question if you have any information on what an average click-through, what's deemed a good click-through rate.
Yeah, it really depends on the keyword itself. You know, every keyword is going to be different. Keywords that are generally very broad, let's say a keyword that just has one word in it, is more broad than something that has 4 or 5 keywords in a phrase, so someone's looking for something very specific. The broader keywords will tend to be less clicked on. It's harder to match up relevancy in a lot of cases. We do have some examples to share. So I'll say very broadly, a successful click-through rate will be somewhere between 1% and 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully that is helpful. So the last point I'll add on the slide, and I realize this is a lot of information. It's you know, the rest of the presentation is hopefully a little bit more visual and engaging opposed to all the words that we have here, but it's very important to sort of understand the basics before we talk about Google Ad grants. The last point I'll make is that when you have keywords in text ads and landing pages, those are all the different levers that you're given as an advertiser. You have a lot of options to improve performance and make changes to affect performance. You can add keywords, take away keywords, change keywords, add text. You constantly have the ability to change ad text in order to try to improve your click-through rate. And then lastly, you have the landing pages. If you're going to send traffic to pages that accomplish the goals that you have, you'll be more successful than sending them to your home page, or you can even test 2 different landing pages to see how they perform. So these are your 3 basic levers that you have to manage your account. And from here, we'll go into a lot more detail about each of them, but that should sort of set the stage for understanding the basics of AdWords and Google Ad grants and what options that you have as an advertiser. So let's start with just a fundamental truth of search advertising. Search is a journey, not a destination. When someone comes to Google, Google's goal is to get them to leave Google as soon as they possibly can. That's why they put a time, if you've ever noticed at the top of a Google search, it will tell you how long it took to return the results, and it's generally 0.001 second to get the results. They want you to find the content you're looking for and move on. So if that content, meaning your website, does not do all the things that it needs to do, you will not be very successful with Google Ad grants or search marketing. So before you start, this is just something to keep in mind. Invest in your website first. The keys to effective search marketing from a website perspective is listed below. Lots of high quality content. You know, you're only able to run on ads that keywords, content on your site that matches those keywords. So high quality and also relevant to the keywords that you want to run on is first and foremost. Second of all, you need your website to educate and inspire action, give people ways to easily get involved. You know, as I said, thousands of people coming to your website is good, but if they're not taking the actions that you want, if you're not educating them about the issues you're working towards solving as an organization, it's as equally of a missed opportunity as not being on the search results at all. So to tie that together, you know, the last bullet point is really about having conversion tracking set up on your website for all the goals, all the actions that you actually care about people taking, so that you know when someone goes to your website what percentage of them actually take those actions. So diving into some of the specifics, the keywords as the first and most important element of AdWords, you need to have keywords in your account. And One of the things that we've seen is we've got several hundred keywords in an account, and we want to make sure that you understand that you need several thousand. You know, it's important for it to be relevant, and we'll go into some of the details of how to build that list without losing relevancy. You know, thinking about the goal of 1,000 keywords for, you know, hyper-local organization that works in a particular community, to 5,000 keyword or national organization. These could go higher in the case of nonprofits representing lots of different issues, but think of these as just sort of the baseline of what you want to be building. And important to point out that it's not just single phrases. So this chart here will show you that the majority of keywords are actually in the 2 to 4 word phrases. So when we think about keywords, it's not just one word, it's also a phrase. So how do we build that keyword list without hurting relevancy? A couple of suggestions here. If you search on Google for the actual keyword itself, you see down at the very bottom that they give you suggestions. Similar results will be found on these different keywords. So that's a great way to build a keyword list, by seeing what Google suggests as similar keywords. When you're logged into AdWords itself, there's a tool called the Keyword Planner, and this is another great opportunity for you to tell Google what you're looking for and to get suggestions from them. The last is really just to use the source. You know, there's lots of different ways to say things, your goal as an organization is to find every possible way that someone might be typing the same thing into google.com to get information. Your job as an account manager becomes to optimize your account as you get going, and as it relates to keywords, that means on a monthly basis, you remove the keywords that are not performing well and add new keywords in to test new opportunities. This is an ongoing job of whoever is managing your account. So from here, we'll turn to the creative text ads themselves. And to do that, we'll share an example here from a client of ours who works in the domestic abuse prevention space. So we have a keyword, family abuse facts. And this organization is running a couple of different ad variants as we recommend. And the first one states learn more, get the latest family violence facts here. The second one says family abuse, get facts on family abuse here and learn more how you can stop it. So to articulate the importance of some of these different nuances, we ran both of these ads for a couple of months, and we noticed that the first ad got a click-through rate of 3.32%, which, going back to my original comment about 1 to 5% click-through rate, is generally pretty good. That would tell you that the ad does a pretty good job. However, in the second variant, we see that it has a 5.5% click-through rate, which is significantly higher, you know, a little bit more than 2 people out of 100, in addition to the first ad, will be driven to your site if all of the traffic uses the second ad. So why does that ad perform better on the right, or now we've moved it to the top here? The headline of the ad itself needs to be hyper-relevant to the search query. And while the bottom ad, family violence, seems relevant on the surface, it's not nearly as relevant as the keyword itself, and that does make a big difference. The better performing ad also has more of an empowering call to action. Learn how you can stop it is a more empowering statement than learn more. So very nuanced, but these add up to significantly higher click-through rates. The last tip of which is just simply removing the www in the fourth line of text. Your URL, you don't need to include the www, and if you capitalize the first words, it might just serve as a fourth line of text more than a URL. So the additional recommendations here are really about testing 3 to 4 ad variations at all times and removing the worst performers on a monthly basis to give your account an overall blended click-through rate that's higher than if you were to leave all these accounts live, all these ads live. So the next element is the home page versus the landing page. And so we've got the same client here, an example. They initially started driving all the traffic to their home page, which sort of seems like the logical thing to do, until you begin to think about what the goals are of people landing on your site. And in this case, they had a goal of growing their email list. And while the ad on the left, driving to the home page, had a really low conversion rate in terms of people signing up for the newsletter when they land on the home page, in testing this landing page on the right, when someone searches for family abuse facts, we know exactly what they're looking for, and this client has a series of fact sheets that they share related to family abuse. And perfect opportunity for them to capture an email address to share a fact sheet. And in this instance, this landing page is converting at over 12.5%. So the amount of email collected is significantly higher with the landing page strategy. And we will dive into that much more in the second section of the presentation.
That's an amazing increase. So good.
Yeah, it is. So a little bit more of a tactical tip here for landing pages. You know, a lot of us have forms for collection or donation on our site. Here's 2 examples of a email collection form, one that has a lot of options for people to fill out and one that has a few. It's pretty obvious that one that has less options will convert higher. We're always recommending that you keep forms as short as you possibly can, with 4 fields as the ideal length in order to maximize conversions. So that sort of wraps up our tactical section, but has hardly given everyone enough information to really become an expert in this. Hopefully it's more of an introduction than anything else. For those interested in additional information, here are 4 resources for you that you'll want to look into in order to become great account managers of a Google Grants account. If you've got the staff within your org to do this, we recommend you send them to a white paper that we wrote here. If they've got a lot of time and this is their job, Google has an amazing online certification program, and it's a great way to become an AdWords expert in about a month, to go through the video tutorials followed by quiz, and if you get, I believe, higher than a 75%, you can actually become a certified AdWords expert. They also offer an online help center. This is an online resource for frequently asked questions, and can be incredibly valuable. And lastly, you can ask us anything at any time by tweeting to @GoogleAdGrants, and we're always happy to lend a hand. So with that, we'll move into the second section of the presentation, where we really talk about this integrated marketing approach, and you know, Google sort of being the catalyst in the case of this presentation through their generous gift of free advertising on their site, but on its own, it can be somewhat effective when you combine it with a website that performs very well and an email strategy. It can be much more effective. So let's start with the goals. So you know, as an agency, that's the first thing that we do, or you know, if I talk to friends about what they're hoping to accomplish in Google Ad Grants, we want to start with the goals, and it inevitably involves donations. And this is just sort of the tough love conversation that we have when we start out, to let people know that, you know, despite the fact that you're doing amazing work and, you know, your organizations are extremely inspirational, most people are not searching for places to give their money away. You know, we're all searching for donors, not the other way around. And that doesn't mean that Google can be an effective way to, you know, have monetary value, add monetary value to your organization, and we'll deal with how that's done. But if you're driving everyone that you meet to a donation page the first time, you're likely to have very few donations. Most people want to get to know the organization better before they give, and that's why we recommend email as a strategy. There are, however, two exceptions to this, brand term searches and disaster relief. So if someone is searching for your nonprofit by name, presumably there's a past relationship. At a minimum, they know who you are. And it's quite possible that they might be interested in donating. So testing out sending that traffic to a donation form, particularly if there's some campaign happening, is sort of testing. And then the last of which is those of you that work in disaster relief. When disaster strikes, people are very interested in helping out, and that is the one exception to people actually searching for a place to give money away. So keep that in mind, but the bulk of this section will really deal with how we use the website and email in order to turn supporters into donors.
Eric, can I interrupt again with another
absolutely.
question?
Of course.
We have a question here. If you have any data on how many touches, I guess, how many touches an organization has to have before a donation?
Yeah. So we'll actually we cover that in the case study at the end. We have an example from someone that uses this methodology with Google Ad Grants and email, and we know exactly how many touches they've experienced. Sample size of one, but it will give you at least a data point there, and dive into that a little bit more when we get to the case study.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. So what are people looking for? It's really about information. And here is some research, some keyword research from a client that works in the rainforest preservation space. All of these buckets here represent campaigns, not particular keywords. So about the rainforest has several thousand keywords related to people, climate, food, and things related to the rainforest. You can see there's a large volume of searches per month, 5 million or so related to you know, information about the rainforest. As we move down the ladder, we've got deforestation and several hundred terms related to deforestation, and nearly 500,000 searches per month in that bucket. Further down is save the rainforest, and a handful of terms related to that, so a little bit more specific to someone looking to take action and get involved with an organization. And as we move further down, you know, several hundred keywords or so related to rainforest charities, rainforest NGOs, groups working in the rainforest, and things like that that we would typically associate with someone looking to contribute to an organization, much lower. So you can sort of see how the opportunity shrinks drastically as we move down towards the group of people that actually might be interested in donating to your organization. But the top opportunity about the rainforest is massive. 5 million people a month looking for information. A great way to really think about creative email capture opportunities similar to the one that I shared about family abuse facts. There can be opportunities for example, and is now running keywords related to food recipes that involve ingredients from the rainforest, and are able to capture email addresses by sharing recipes with people that are looking to be conscious of buying products that do not destroy the rainforest. So a little bit further down, when it becomes a little bit more issue-based, like deforestation, great opportunity to send people to a petition or give them the chance to learn more, and that can be done by capturing their email address or asking them to follow the org on social media. So the more advocacy-based searches are a great opportunity to ask someone to get involved. perhaps volunteer for the organization, share with their friends if an issue that they care about, and again, great way to capture email addresses and get social engagement. And then last, when someone's actually searching for a nonprofit that does the work that your organization does, absolutely think about donations and membership as an opportunity, but obviously the bigger opportunity is about the top of the funnel where we've got millions and millions of searches each month. So how do we take advantage of that top of the funnel to build these communities? This is the approach that we advocate for. Rather than asking people for money right when we meet them, we really just want permission to continue the conversation. So you've got the chance to build that relationship. Once you've got an email address or a social follow, you share content that connects with them about the issues that they care about. The reasons why they joined the community were because of the passion that they have for the issue that your organization is working in. So give them the content that they're looking for. It's really about forming and hiring on those issues. You can deepen engagement even further by celebrating wins and progress and the different challenges that you face. And then ultimately, over time, we absolutely ask for participation, whether it be volunteering or donating when you have a campaign. But thinking about it more as a community building exercise rather than what are the needs and the wants of your organization, will sort of flip the script a bit and really make your community feel like they're a valuable part of the work that you do. So email address is something that we talk about a lot, and we mentioned social media as well. However, if you've spent the time as an organization to analyze the value of an email address, I'm sure that you'll realize that email is much more valuable when it comes to asking for money than it is to have a social media follow. This is just a great tool I wanted to share if you haven't really thought about what an email address is worth to you as an organization. This calculator that's available online will help you see by putting in some average number of donations you send out, the value of a donor, number of mailings or emailings that you do. You know, you can find out exactly what an email is worth to you, and that's sort of paramount understanding the value of really a program like this, you know. So I highly recommend everyone checks this out and really begins to analyze what an email address is worth to them before investing in this type of program. So now I want to go through a handful of tips and recommendations for really improving your website's email capture. And the first of which is to have a prominent placement for newsletter sign up. You know, this really sort of seems obvious, although you still meet people that kind of bury their email sign up on a different page. Having it first and foremost when someone comes to your website will improve the conversion rate, how many people actually sign up. So highly visible and above the fold is key. And also test a lot of different colors and calls to action. So this button here is green and says get involved. And these guys are a smart organization, and I'd be willing to bet that there's a reason why it's green. Test it out in orange, test it in red, and see how the data changes. So we also know that there should be email captures in other places on the site to make it more convenient. And here's an example of an email capture being in the footer. But the tip is really about testing different messaging. You know, newsletter sounds scary to people that feel inundated with email in their inbox. So things like get involved, stay informed happen to work better for the client. Every client is going to have a different experience. So, you know, just really test out the messaging and see if there's a difference with your organization. Another opportunity to think about email capture is with advocacy campaigns, and you can prominently place them throughout your site. Here's a nonprofit that has a petition that they're running, and it lives on their homepage of all their websites. This gives a lot of visibility to the petition in a way that converts at about 1% to 2% of the people that land on the homepage actually go through the steps of clicking here and signing up for the petition, which equals an email address, an opportunity for them to continue the conversation with that supporter. Another recommendation here is, a pop-up or a slide-in. Blogs are a great place to test these out. It's content that is a little bit more engaging, and in this nonprofit case, we've found that people spent several minutes on each blog post, which was a relatively high number, given the amount of time that they spent on other pages on the site. So we tested this slide-in. Important to point out that from a user experience perspective, we want to be very cautious to not annoy the people that actually care about the work that we're doing. So we set frequency caps, and we recommend that you do as well. You will not see this slide in more than once a week. If it's a blog that you visit more than that, you won't see it every time you come to the blog, but just a maximum of once a week. And it's also something that doesn't even trigger until you've gotten halfway down the page. So you've engaged with the content for a certain period of time, and then at that point it comes in and the opportunity to sign up to get involved with this org. So here's the example we shared earlier, and just to give a little bit more detail around this as an example that we've seen a lot of success with a handful of different clients. Creating an email gate for your best digital content can be a great way to add thousands of people to your email list. And in this case, I mentioned that this organization has a handful of different fact sheet research that they've done that really go into some of the details about violence. And for people that are interested in learning more about it, they're happy to input an email address and their name to get access to that content. Think about what content you have that might trigger users to be willing to input an email address. As we shared the example earlier, this page converts at about 12.5%. 12.5% of the people that see it actually submit their email address, and as a result are now involved with the organization. Using Google AdWords and analytics is a great way to determine your most popular content. One of the statistics that you get as a Google Ad Grants user or as an AdWords user is how many times are each keyword searched on. And that will tell you if you do want to go out and invest in building content that might be valuable and used in this case, the types of content that you should think about by seeing the most popular and the most searched on content out there. So the last tip here is really about mobile, as it relates to your website. Mobile is no longer the future. It's really here now. I think we've been hearing for several years that mobile is going to become very, very important. So just a couple of statistics. 50% of emails that you send out will be opened on a phone, greater than 50%. And partly as a result of that, people clicking on links within the emails that you send to them, as well as just searching mobile phones and really using phones as a computer in some cases. We've found that the nonprofits that work with have between 20 and 50% of their traffic coming from mobile. So at a minimum, this is something that you should understand, you should know for your organization. We ran this index recently with about 20 different nonprofits that we have in our Google Analytics account to see where their traffic was coming from collectively. And what we found was that about 35% or so is coming from phone and tablet, and 65% is coming from computer. In 2 cases, 2 out of the 20 organizations in this index, they had more than 50% of their traffic coming from phone and tablet. So if you don't have a mobile responsive site, or if you're not sending emails on a mobile responsive template, really big missed opportunity to be sending information out to your supporters in a way that they can't really view it well. So that's the second section about unlocking value from Google Ad Grants, and we'll sort of tie that together here with a case study of how one nonprofit that we know has been successful in using Google Ad Grants and email together to grow donations. And I think that'll answer the question we had previously about how many different touch points it might take. So this client is Cornell's Lab of Ornithology, and their mission is about better understanding birds and helping to preserve birds in their natural environments. Their initial strategy, they had a website all about birds. People were looking for different birds like screeched owls, landing on their website, engaging with a couple of pictures. I think they had about a 2.5 page session on average. Users viewed 2.5 pages when they came to the site. Nearly all of them left, and they really didn't have a good sense on who came back. So they were sort of feeling like search engine marketing wasn't all that valuable for them, and it wasn't leading to their organizational goals. So they really embraced this concept of community building, and it was really about taking the traffic that they had coming into their site, capturing emails, and then using email marketing over time to turn those supporters into donors. So that's the strategy that we went through today on the first and second section of the presentation, and it's one that worked very well for them. So we'll give you a little bit more details into how it worked for them. Capturing email addresses is really about creating a value exchange. In this case, when people search for the keyword owl calls, they're given the ability to actually download the sounds of these different owls, greyhound owls, eastern screech owls, and so on. So we're giving users what they're looking for. People are searching Google for something, and in this case, this nonprofit had access to a library connected to the school, Macaulay Library, with tens of thousands of different animal sounds. So a great way for them to leverage that library to build their keyword list. So the first step when we get someone to sign up for an email list is to install a welcome series. And this is an auto-triggered set of emails that go out when someone signs up. The first of which happens immediately. When someone signs up, they get a thank you. Sounds very simple, but really sets the stage for the relationship. After 3 days, they get another email that's very particular to the keyword that they came into the email system on. In this case, it's owl sounds. So they're getting an email within 3 days that's giving them links to more owl sounds. This client now has over 100 landing pages created, very similarly, but done for different bird species. So if you came in because of you're searching for parakeet sounds, you would get a different email in the second and third stage of this welcome series that's very particular to the species that you were looking for. So that the third email I mentioned was about the Nest Watch and more YouTube videos related to owls. So very particular. It just will deepen the engagement. It will improve the performance of click-throughs and open rates the more similar it is to the search query that someone used when they found your org the first time around. So it's after 12 days that they send a membership invitation. And this is $30 per year. You join the lab, you're supporting our work, you get, frequent updates, you get access to information that other non-members don't get and that sort of thing. So it's after the first 12 days that these users get dropped into the general communication flow, where they get the monthly newsletters and the fundraising campaign appeals and membership drives as they have a few times throughout the year. So the new strategy in action is really about searching for Screeched Owl, landing on the right page within their site that's related to that species, downloading the MP3 of the owl in exchange for an email address. They can then learn more about the lab, those triggered emails, which are very targeted to the owl species again, then begin receiving their monthly newsletter and email solicitations that come out. Eventually, a portion of these will donate or join the email, and then we thank our supporters and aim to move them up the donor pyramid over time, which is the work that I'm sure you guys do well. So the first year results of this campaign were an increased capture rate from 0.2% of sending people to the homepage to nearly 6% for all traffic from Google Ad Grants. The email file grew by 56%. It's now up to 500,000. And as a result, they doubled their online fundraising from the prior year as a result of this strategy. 60% of those donors were new donors, first-time donors, which was a number that they cared a lot about and just sort of worried about cannibalizing their existing program with this approach, which 60% of them being first donors proves that it didn't. So to answer that question about touch points, I thought I had the data in here, but it looks like it's not. But I do recall offhand, it takes Cornell, I believe it's about 70 days from when someone signs up to when they become a donor. That's an average number. So in some cases, it might happen in the first 12 days when that last email is sent and the appeal to join. Some of them, it might take longer. It might be at the end of the year appeal, but the average donation came in after about 70 days of being in the system. So the last thought that I'll leave you with is my own personal mission and goal is really about spending, $1 billion on this program and just sort of thinking about what we can accomplish together as a group of nonprofits by doing this. When you look at the math, it's really just over 2,000 nonprofits using the program, spending the maximum amount allotted, $480,000 a year. So when I think about it from that perspective, it seems tangible and doable. And I'd love it if you joined me and signed up for Google Ad Grants, shared with your friends, and certainly asked us any questions, and we'd be happy to help any way we can.
That was so opening it up. Eric, thank you. That was, wow, that was a lot of information, and thank you for putting it in such, I think, as digestible, in a one-sitting kind of scenario as it could be. I do have a question for you. I assume you're going to open it up to questions at this point.
Yep.
Okay. On the previous slide, does nurture occur even if there is no further action or response by the user, or only after a response?
Yeah, the nurturing program that Cornell set up happens automatically, especially within the first 30 days. The first 30 days sets the tone for the relationship. So those 4 triggered emails happen regardless if there's any engagement. Now, depending on how sophisticated you want to be as an organization, you can modify that nurturing campaign and hopefully do modify the outreach beyond the first 30 days based off of engagement. If someone clicks on 80% of things that you sent them, that's a huge signal that there's an engaged user, and you might want to consider asking them for membership or donation more frequently than someone that hasn't opened an email. And in fact, if someone hasn't even opened an email from your nonprofit in, let's say, the last 6 months or a year, it might be worth asking them if they even want to be on the list. You know, we don't really advocate to build the largest list possible as much as we would rather have a highly engaged list of supporters. So we've got nonprofits that will even, you know, ask people to opt back in or ask them if they want to opt out. You know, if they don't want to hear from you, you might as well stop sending them in. So we absolutely all nonprofits to really use the engagement data that we have to tailor the email outreach program moving forward. But nonetheless, the first 30 days is something, you know, everyone should hear from your organization, you know, 2 to 4 times within the first 30 days of them joining a list.
2 to 4 times. That's great. That's great stuff. I have another question. Just, do we have time for one more question, Eric? I don't want to cut into your...
Absolutely. I've got plenty.
Okay, terrific. Here was a question. How much time is dedicated to this for as account managers? I guess that's relative to the ad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think on average, I would say it takes about 20 hours in the first month to set up a really effective, well thought out Google Ad Grants account. And then going forward, we anticipate about 10 to 15 hours of work each month, which will vary depending on the size of the organization. Local orgs will be less time. Those with 1 or 2 programs versus 15 or 20, you know, could vary, but you know, somewhere in that 5 to 15 hours a month of ongoing work to really make the best use out of Google Ad Grants. That's logging into AdWords and actually doing a lot of those optimization efforts that I mentioned. The other element to it is the landing page creation and the email programs. And, you know, it could certainly take a few hours to create a landing page. It depends on the content management system that you use for your website and how easy it is to do that. But I'd anticipate, you know, 1 to 3 hours to create a landing page, and other, you know, 15 to 20 hours per month to run your email programs, which again could vary, you know, greatly depending on the size of the organization.
Okay, thank you. That definitely explained it. We have those were the ends of the questions. If there was anything else, I think we're going to wrap up and say thank you very much to Eric Facas. This was so informative. We greatly appreciate the guidance, the overview. Obviously, you've provided us with a number of resources to dive deeper into, to take back to the office and talk about. Lots of great information and good feedback from the chat boxes too. So thank you all for being active listeners. You'll receive an email later today, but I do want to ask, I want to say thank you again to Eric, and please contact him with any follow-up questions. You have his contact information there. Thanks again to E4 Strategies for their sponsorship. We greatly appreciate that. And I'd like to ask you all just a personal favor. That's a big favor, and you don't know me, but please, if you enjoyed this event, if you could please visit All Sports United's LinkedIn page, their group page, and make a comment how you enjoyed it. That would definitely go a long way to keeping the series going too. So we hope we can continue to bring that. With that, I want to just wrap it up and say thank you all. You will be getting an email a little bit later today with the complete recording it'll be the audio and the slides, so you'll be able to share that with your group. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions, or certainly if you have questions about Google Ad Grants and want to get started or anything like that, please contact Eric directly. So with that, have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Pleasure to talk to everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.